Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Hello, best friends. I stole that line from Nick. I just said, are you going to kick off the podcast? And interrupted Al before you even opened your mouth.
Interrupting Al.
How
does Lance put up with him? I don't know.
I'm inspired by Kanye. Just shouting things out. Not judging. Shouting things out.
What a better week. What a better turnaround, Al.
Yeah.
Back in the saddle over here.
So if you didn't listen to last week, shame on you. Shame on you.
First of all.
Go and listen to it. But Lance was striking out.
Big time. 3 weeks in a row. Could not land a client at all whatsoever.
Tears, crying, puddle.
Nervous. Yeah, not happy about it. That's for sure. So then, as of so I had that. If you'd missed last week's episode, one of the things I said is I'm going to go out of my way and have a Saturday morning phone conference meeting with a client because it's go time. I got to break this back. I got to break this streak. So did that. I'm set to sign them on next Monday, the Monday after this podcast airs, and then right on that Monday morning of this week, signed another contract with a client, and I want to give it's a very good contract for us. We're excited about the project. We're going to revamp it was what would be classified as mid-century modern house, but we're going to upgrade everything. It's up in Loveland, and I want to give a shout out to Angelo Marasco of Cadence Design Studio in Denver for the referral. What's awesome about it is we don't get paid to do this. We don't get paid at all to do this podcast, but Angelo is a listener, and the project was too far for them, so they referred us to this client. So I just want to give them a huge shout out. Even though we don't get paid for the podcast, we did end up getting something for giving. So,
so some people are surprised that Lance and I don't know exactly what we're doing. Each other. No, I didn't mean it that way. That came out funny.
What do you mean?
They aren't surprised at that. That's obvious.
Our employees listen to this.
But we were talking to some interiors and designers, and they're like, one was calling me and was talking to me, and an engineer was talking to me about my project, and he was like, oh yeah, this other project. And he goes, I know it's a Lance project, whatever. I go, yeah, I have no idea what's going on. He's like, oh, so you can't answer? What? I was like, I have no idea. I didn't even know that project existed. But anyway, so I knew a little bit about this.
You mean it in that way? Yeah. So I think what he's getting at is you would think that Alex and I know the intricacies of every single project that we are respectively working on with our respective teams. We do not.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I just think it's a reality.
Yeah. So anyways, I looked this guy up, the CandiceStudio.com out of Denver. They do some awesome work.
They do way cool stuff.
Like
yeah. Mid-century modern. One of their taglines was unabashedly. Does it say unabashedly modern?
I'm just looking at these clean floor plans.
Yeah, they do great stuff. So again, thank you so much, Angelo. Seriously, you don't even know how much that helped me just break out of a funk. And I just came out of a sales meeting before this podcast, before we started recording this podcast. So hopefully we'll get another one. Keep on trucking. You and I went to one together. They were huge dogs. They freaked us out a little bit.
Yeah. Well, before we go to that, I'm looking at their website, and what's cool, I'll show you, is that they show design options, meaning they go through and look at this. Oh, you want a kitchen this way, or you want a kitchen this way? And what I like, maybe I'm an architect, so I just really like this. But to me, as a client, it says, oh, we're going to adjust and listen and go through the process. It's like visually telling them, hey, there's a process. Hey, there's a process.
Hey, there's a process.
Yeah. So good job, guys. Go check them out. Seem like cool people. Oh, are they doing 3D?
Well, hey, maybe you should.
Wow. I'm in a 3D model of theirs, navigating around. Get out of town.
So maybe you should take cue from these guys because they're kicking butt.
And taking names, our names.
And we should make our own version of this. I like that idea because then you could say it could be like the process tab, and you can go there and it shows the process. And we already have some of the graphics made for an addition. You modify the contract, so now we have an addition contract that shows the process, but in a different way.
Think about a website, right? The first pictures always like a friendly, nice pictures, and it could go through the final product, right? Then Lance have a description, right? So a bunch of final pictures, descriptions, and then show a bunch of process ones. Why not?
I love it.
3-part.
I think it's a good idea. I can't wait till you do it.
I know.
I'm excited.
Speaking of that, well, let me jump into what I just did this morning. I'm skipping ahead in our little outline. You know, we're doing this is a sneak peek preview. Sneak peek preview.
Boom!
Hit it. Of what's going to happen this summer and happen next week. And I'll fully announce it and all that stuff. We're doing a Revit summer course.
Oh, my goodness.
Lance doesn't even know. That's
what? Are you calling this Al Gore University? F9U?
But no, FU.
Oh,
just
snap.
But we probably won't call it that, but we should. Anyways,
tweet at us if you want us to call it.
You walked in and you're like, why is there a shirt on the table? There's a button-up shirt and all that.
Yeah.
So I had Jason film me, and I did the introduction, and there's little segments of me just talking about the philosophy and like what we're trying to accomplish in these little segments. So everything's broken down. We do Revit families, and in Revit families, we go from simple shapes to parametric boxes and all that crazy stuff. Then we jump over to the project side, and we do windows, doors, walls, schedules, all that stuff. But it's broken down into the little 3 to 5 minute segments. So it's easy to find, easy to go back to, all that. Should be great. It's going to be on Teachable, which is just a great way to... it tracks. I didn't even say some of this when I did my sales thing. It tracks how far you are. So let's say you just want to start a 7-minute video, but you get 4 minutes into it and you have to go or something. It tracks it. So when you come back, you just start right there. You don't have to remember or anything like that. So I'm super excited about it. I finished all the tutorials where I'm doing the screen stuff last week. And then I've just been dreading doing these ones where I'm in front of the camera. Not because I care that I'm in front of the camera, but you know this, how to put together 5 to 10 minutes without screwing up. Somehow you can do it on the screen, or maybe you screw up. Actually,
sorry, you mean so two different ways, right? 5 to 10 minutes talking to a camera versus 5 to 10 minutes doing something on the computer, recording your screen.
Yep.
The latter is easier, yes.
But no, it's so funny. So there's testimonials that we're gonna put in, and it's from these girls, and they said, we love when you screw up because then you show how to fix it. You know what I mean? Because it happens all the time, and maybe on the screen you just don't notice. So
we love it when you screw up. That is the most interesting feedback I've heard in a long time.
Because all of a sudden you mess up and you go, oh, I probably even say, oh crap, that didn't work out. So what do I do now?
Yeah, honestly, psychologically, it humanizes you a little bit in the video, and all of us, and then it takes you off of not that you are on a pedestal, but when you and somebody's talking at you, then all of a sudden it makes you feel like they're talking with you.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too. Almost, I shouldn't avoid screw ups, and then in some of the tutorials, I go, here are the common screw ups, because those screw ups that I do, and we know because we teach students, man, they're gonna find ways to screw it up that you won't even know about. So I don't mind putting those in. It's really good. Anyways, look for that. It will be updated on revitfurniture.com. You'll see a new thing. If you're a student, and if you're... You know what? I'll tell you this. If you're a student and you think you're good at Revit, like everyone that applies to our firm, and we just say, okay, and then we hire them based on their portfolio, personality, all this stuff. 2 months later, they go, oh, yeah, I put Revit Skill 8. I was at Revit Skill 2.
That is hilarious.
So, students, you are at Revit Skill 2, no matter what you think. I hate to say it, but it's okay.
Yep.
And then professionals, I know you don't... If you haven't learned Revit, you need to. I mean, student, it's just... There should be no question in your head that you need to be good at Revit. This shouldn't even be a question.
Yep.
For professionals, you don't have a time, you're comfortable, all that. I'm going to walk you through. I'm going to be your guide. And then we're going to give you everything that you need, and we're going to set you out. We don't start from scratch. And there was a Entree Architect Facebook group. Again, everyone get in it if you can. One person was asking whether they should get a template and all that. And actually, another person just contacted me from that group for this. Some people were saying, build it on your own as you go. And I understand that philosophy.
Yeah, that's a fair way of thinking.
I do understand that, and it's totally legitimate.
But
you're going to be slowed down. You're going to be slowed down so much because you're going to want to
It's
do
just like
things.
the Lego concept every single time. Like, do you really want to make the Legos first? Then to make the Lego building? Come on.
Well, here you go. Let's say you're putting in doors and just you're laying out a floor plan and you're putting in doors. You have to go find different doors and put them, or find a good model and make sure it's a good model and make sure it doesn't break and that it tags right and all that. Or, that, and then you just to say to yourself, oh, I built it as I went, slowed down my process immensely and didn't even know that this broke in the future and was a terrible, no, there's doors. There's 5 different types, there's sliding doors, French doors, pocket doors, stuff like that. We got them for you.
We got you.
You're good.
We got your Legos.
Yeah.
Come get them. Speaking of students, we didn't put this on but I don't care. Yesterday we had some students in, which was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I want to briefly talk about that. So if anybody... So we are one of 2 decent-sized firms. We're small, right? We're less than 12 people. That's considered a small firm in a town of 100,000 people. So at my son's middle school, actually the whole school district did this for all the middle schools, is they have a career day. And so if you Google architects in Longmont, then we pop up number 1. And so we were bombarded with students who wanted to come in because they wanted to be architects and they had to do a job shadow day. We actually had like 12 people contacted us, and after a while I had to turn people down, honestly, because we have such a small shop, like space to operate in, that we could only host 3. So we hosted 3. It was great. They came in. We told them about ourselves. They asked us all kind of questions, and then they went around. I couldn't think of anything more valuable for like a middle schooler. I told my wife about how we did it. So they came in, they did that. Then they went around each of the guys' desks, and Mark told him what he was doing, explained some things. Same thing with Gresh, everybody else. And then I said, and then the last part of it was we sat them down and they did 30 minutes of Revit tutorials. Just the most basic fundamental one that they could do, right? I told my wife all this, and she was like, "Oh my God, they must have had a blast." She's like, because she took 2 of our sons on her. She was the career day for them.
The mom was career day.
To be a realtor. Well, and then my son was with me.
Yeah, but he didn't even come. He just sat.
Kyler.
He was here, but not here.
And to his defense, my children, I lead an integrated life, so like they've been on career day their whole lives.
They've actually been in F9 original headquarters at my office.
Oh,
I mean at my house.
Yep.
Just hanging out while we're.
Kyler learned SketchUp when he was like 6. They're just over it, right? They're just bored with it.
Yeah.
But I think it was not only a good thing for those middle schoolers. Plus, I think it's just such a good thing for the guys and like the culture here.
Yep.
To have a nice break. Everybody gets to make a little difference in somebody's life. Kind of, who knows who we possibly influence. So if you ever get that opportunity in your firm, I don't care how small you are and how busy you are, just do it.
But don't do it. So I went to my dad's career day.
Try to plan it, I think. That's what I'm getting. I thought we did a pretty good job for 2 hours.
And all I remember was it was IBM back in the 90s.
Weren't you impressed with the robot that would go back and forth?
I was impressed with the robot. Robots would walk down, be in the halls with you, and they'd be on wheels delivering stuff. And then I was like, "Dad, what is this?" He was like, "Hey, go in front of one." So I'd go in front of one and stop. And I'd try to get them to hit me, but they wouldn't hit me. And then we went to, which is crazy. You don't even have, Amazon is doing that now, and it seems as new. Remember Amazon warehouses?
Well,
a robot rolls over, get something.
When you told me about that when we were in college, about doing that with your dad at IBM, it literally blew my mind. I was like, wow, I didn't even know IBM was doing that stuff.
And do you know why it went away?
Budget? I don't know.
No, they go email. It was literally delivering.
It was mail, right?
Yeah, so you'd call, press a button and come. You put a letter on it and say, go to Jim, and go find Jim, or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyways, and then I went to some I literally just sat in a meeting, zoned out, and then the only thing I remember hearing my dad say, someone was cussing because they were mad, and Dad kind of just looked at that guy and looked at me. I was like, you can swear, I don't care.
Yeah, I like that word.
Yeah,
that's funny.
So, but I cut you off because your wife in career day, she said, "Oh
no, she had a good day with the boys. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Our oldest boy, he's very influenced by her, and he should be, right?
Yep.
So he's gonna go get his realtor license when he's 18, and he was literally asking questions. He kept entertaining. The little one didn't care. The little one did not care at all.
Boy or girl?
Boy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Luke didn't care.
Yeah.
But it's what she said about us. She's like, she just thought, oh wow, I bet they had a blast. I'm like, yeah, we made them feel like, we just give them as much information as we could, and then the kicker was, okay, go to work. Now you guys get to work for a little bit.
Yeah.
So,
cool. Well, I got an idea for you.
What's that?
And it came from, I read Creativity Inc. Very fun book. It's about Pixar. And I thought it was just about going to be like how to be creative. I was like, I wrote a book on this. Just kidding. I mean, I did, but it didn't come off like it. But it's about the history of Pixar, and it's more about how to run a business. I was like, it was just awesome, like a fun read, because all the movies and how they did stuff and the trials and tribulations that they had. And first, like a quote, and this quote is unrelated to what I want to tell you about. But the goal, this is just one of many quotes, the goal isn't to achieve stability, but to achieve balance. And what he was talking about there, and I think this is what we do. Remember when we were talking about like, hey, how much should you plan? And we should plan, and we should have a coach. And I'm going to go on another tangent. Remember last time we were talking about having a coach?
Yeah.
It depends on who that coach is, obviously. But here's the example. The drafts were yesterday, okay? There's a whole bunch of huge talent. And it's so hard to see, like...
What drafts? The NFL?
NFL.
Oh, yeah.
Who gets drafted, who's successful, who's not, who's successful in college. Hey, he's 6'5" and strong. Why is he good? Why is he bad? One of the most successful college coaches no one knows about, I don't even know his name. But listen to this. He was the coach of the quarterback that has the most wins ever in D1 football, which is Brock Jensen at NDSU. That's the record. I think he won like 78 games and lost like 3, right? Then he coached Carson Wentz, who went on to Eagles and was like the second pick.
Second pick. Yep.
And then he's at Wyoming now, and their quarterback, Josh Allen, went like 7th. So he coached the top quarterbacks in the last couple drafts, and then the one before NDSU was known, the winningest college football coach ever. So is that a coincidence, or is the same coach extremely, extremely good? Like, how do you I want to find that guy. Because that's what I'm saying. Like,
you want to find that guy to coach us.
Here's the analogy. Like, okay, we're good, quote unquote good. Well, we know them. That the guy that you just mentioned is good. Nick is good. There's a whole bunch of good people. What if there's that coach that makes a difference? And there could be that coach that you hire that doesn't make the difference. Because here's the other example. Baylor. Baylor's like, my sister's in Texas. They're like, that's a shit school. No one especially for football.
Can we reincarnate Art Gensler?
Exactly. I don't think he's dead though.
I thought he was.
Ooh, we should really know this.
Wow, now you're putting me on the spot like that. I'll have to look that up. Keep going.
But Baylor, just an okay team. Every one of their quarterbacks was absolutely amazing.
Yep.
Right? Did they just happen to have the best recruit? I'm sure they had a good recruiter and all that, but there's something to it. So if anyone knows, like, hey, this is obviously the best coach that can take someone with at least some semblance of talent and make them into the greatest, that's what I'm thinking. Anyways, back to where I was going because I went on a tangent. So a stability versus balance. Because this is where it comes into, and this is what Creativity Inc. was going to, is like, if you set too many goals, and he had to train like some of his staff would come in and say like, hey, here's the next 5 years. Here's a 20-page report of what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, right? And we're going to end at this pinnacle, Lance, this peak, right? Which means you're very stable. Like you have goals and plan, everything's laid out. That's very stable. He goes, yeah, but what if something else comes out? What if someone comes out? What if something changes? What if the script is wrong? That plan is going to go to crap. So what I think we do well, and I wasn't able to explain it, is we have balance, right? So you were off the last couple weeks. I was on. Something comes, like we're able to literally jump from pile to pile and hold up different things because we are somehow have this concept of balance. And I think that's what some people might get too heavy, I think, into here's a plan, here's a structure, this is how it's going to happen. And then something else comes in from the side. That's not part of the plan. Don't focus on that. That's stability, quote unquote. Focus on how you can balance these. And that's what a staff does for us. It was so hard getting that first person.
No, but then after that, so huge.
Yeah. Because I even asked you, what was it, yesterday? or was it this morning at like 6 a.m. I text you. I go, which guys can I have next week? Balancing the firm.
Yep.
You know.
Let me give you a Gensler update. He is still alive.
There you go.
That's embarrassing. However, there you go. So
let's call him up.
I know, right? Honestly, it would be. There's two questions I would ask somebody like Arthur Gensler. Number one is, when do you? What do you decide? What's your weeding out process for people, for potential clients, where you say yes or no to even going to have a meeting with them, or all that stuff. Like the weeding out process, to me, I need to improve on that. And I've talked about it many times. And then the second part is, okay, like, what are your top 3 keys to closing a deal? What do you do after you give them the proposal? Like, are there any special things? We've talked about this before too. Like, is it a phone call? And I've been doing the phone call. Doing the phone call, making sure, hey, I just sent you the proposal. Let me know if you have any questions, et cetera, et cetera. There's also so those two. I think it's like, I think the meat. I am comfortable with the meat of an MEAT, not like meeting, but like the meat of getting the meeting, going into the meeting. I know how to sell. I know what questions to ask, all that stuff during the meeting. But it's the front and the back end. Because I think if I could figure out the front end a little bit better, and I've been doing the whole, it's $250 or whatever for like a first meeting. I've been doing that, and it's hit or miss. Some people go for it, some people don't, and it doesn't. And then the claim is, if they go for that, okay, great, they're not going to be cheap. And then they have an emotional tie to you for spending that money.
Yep.
But I don't buy it. I don't buy it because it doesn't always work out like that. It's hit or miss. There's no guarantee. I think it's a decent method, but at the same time, there's other clients where they've spent quite a bit of money on us, and they pretty much demanded a first free meeting. And like, they're very good clients. 2 custom houses last year, at the end of last year, those clients, there was no talk about charging them money at the beginning, and then they were handsome fees. So I don't know.
Yeah. It's a difference between, again, going back to what we were talking about, building your own template, buying one, starting from scratch. And this is what I mean is, some things sound good on paper, but then in practice they don't pan out. And it's just experience that's gonna teach you. And it's situation too. It's situation.
So Art, if you're listening, just tweet at us.
Facebook. It's all up on the Twitter. But here was where we were really going. So from that book, if we circle all the way back to the book, another idea. They had an idea. So they were getting larger and larger and larger, and they wanted to keep company culture. Pixar.
Yep.
And they needed to reduce costs because things were just getting bloated. Bureaucracies happen in businesses all the time. So they said, we need to stop this. We can't be bloating up the people, the man hours for each project just to do it. So they had a retreat where they took the execs, the higher up people. I think there's like 40 or 50 at the company. Flew out to like Sedona or something like that. And finally, one of the guys on the technical side said, they made a goal, and they said, we need to reduce our work week hours per movie by 10%. How do we do that? They're like, we need to do this. And he goes, why don't we just ask the staff? I don't know how he said it, but like, why don't we ask the team? Why don't we ask everyone? So then their brains got cooking, and they go, we need to have a day. And it was called Notes Day. And they are a large organization of like 2,000 people. I don't know. Large. Let's just say
bigger than us.
Bigger than us. So they let everyone know, and then said, hey, come up. This is our goal. And then come up with topic areas. So then they emailed like 200 topic areas. So then they had a group of people that narrowed it down to like 30 topic areas. Then they had breakout groups. You could go to these different sessions. Then they talked about it. Then they put a report. Then they said like, okay, who should champion this idea? And then they had those people come and like say it to the upper staff, and then they started implementing some plans and all that stuff. And they said it was honestly, the people loved it because they felt in control and they felt heard, because the people in your company know what's going on, right? And they know how to do solutions, and I think they get frustrated when they can't. And that's what I get frustrated. Like, I'm part of the city, and I have some solutions for them, and it might be my ego saying this, but like, you literally won't let me help you.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Especially when you pay money to be a part of the city.
So I was talking to Lance, telling him about this when we were driving to work, and I said, we should have a notes day. And I said something about, and then it shouldn't be just 10% reduction.
Well, Al was like, I want to have a day where we get 15% better. And I go, let's just call it the 5% day.
5% Friday. You said 5%.
5% Friday. Yep, exactly. Let's have a 5% Friday.
And it's not necessarily a reduction. It's 5% improvement in the firm. Because what if it's something that's going to take longer, but then our reputation will go up, our errors will go down. We're okay with that. So at lunch today, we're going to announce to the guys that next Friday, if it works out on our schedules, I don't know if it does.
Next Friday, we are gone, so no.
Okay, the Friday after.
See how little we know about each other?
Yeah. I don't even know that I'm gone next Friday. So we'll have to do the podcast on Thursday, which we could probably do. Yeah.
I have another idea, but keep going.
Cool. Driving to fishing?
Something.
And we'll I want to break it into, okay, let's talk, bring ideas, and then I want half the day to be on execution too, because we're such a small firm. Because they had large initiatives, right? I have things that I know if I had a half day, I could implement it, put it in the template, we're good to go. So we'll talk to them and see how it goes.
Yeah, sweet. Is it time for Nicholas?
Nick reads. Here we go.
Hello, best friends. I hope you had a great week this week. A reading. Excellent delivery. Bringing in business is one thing. Winning repeat business is another. The key to loyal clients is to make sure you have excellent delivery of your services. This is a core part of the design process. From your opening conversations until the final handover to the client, you want to refine your delivery process. The best delivery integrates collaboration, execution, and deep resources. Collaboration. Leading professional service firms have a collaborative culture. Start by integrating in-house capabilities, thus empowering you to make a richer offering to your clients. The next step is collaborating with your client to find the right solution. Often I see service professionals failing to listen to their clients. They view themselves as the expert, and they expect their clients to take their advice wholesale. While you might have the better answer, you need to work together to explore the full range of options. Only then can you generate a solution that has a strong buy-in. Art Gensler. Al, have yourself a great weekend. Toodles!
What I find after this reading in that book, Art Gensler's book, he talks about a story. And this one company, I can't remember what, wanted to make the tallest building in their city. And after studying it and looking at it, they said, hey, actually, if we did a shorter building, and they knew that someone was already building like an even taller building that they probably weren't going to be able to break. If we do a shorter building, we can have each department on its own level so that they can talk to each other. We can do it for lower cost than you expected, and we can get it done quicker than expected. And they said yes, and it turned out great. So there's a difference when you're collaborating. There's a vision of what you want the tallest building, and then there's goals like, hey, on budget, on time, and we want to make the best company to work in there. So sometimes if the vision and goals don't align, you can use the goals to reshape the vision.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
The other thing I think is critical to delivery, and I'm going to tell a failure story, is if you are assembling, if it's a crapshoot from the beginning, meaning let's say the client doesn't want to hire the engineers that they need to.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And they go, no,
just
go ahead.
There's architect in a typical project, and this could be for a different business, but okay, you need an architect, you need a structural engineer, you need a mechanical engineer, sometimes a plumbing, and you need a civil. Like that's your team. So you're saying there's a scenario where they don't want to hire
landscape, interiors, So let's just say it's architecture, the architects and all the engineers that are necessary. This is coming from the city, and they're saying you have to have all these disciplines on board.
Yep.
But the client, for some reason, just thinks like, "Wow, we did it this way in another city. We only had the architect," and you cannot get them to budge on it. If you're not starving, I would that's where I would put my line. I would draw a line in the sand, and I'd say, well, then I can't comfortably go into this project, because what's going to happen is, and then you have to cite, like, I've been down this road before. We've tried to do this. We get so far in the permitting process, and then all of a sudden it comes out and they go, we need to see mechanical plans. Why don't you have mechanical plans? And then it's a crapshoot. It's a complete crapshoot from there, because everybody's delivering at the same time. All of a sudden you're like bringing a whole nother discipline in and layering them on top at the last minute. So if anybody ever runs into that situation, I cannot stress it enough. Either just walk away or demand it to the point where you get them to hire the necessary people they do. Don't let it be a crapshoot.
Or no, so all projects have unexpected things happen in them. We know it. There's another way, being nimble, and I think you already told them multiple times, because I know this project, what you're talking about. But like, send almost like a formal letter saying, hey, by the way, just let you know, the city says you need this. I think you need this. What I think will happen is that at some time in the future, you will need this, and this will be.
Do you want to know how I'm going to do that?
But because then, in your mind, Lance, that client is already going to be like, nope, this is it. Like, everything's firm, and it's going to rock them. So when it happens, and we know it's going to happen, like, yeah, we know it was happen. We're nimble, we know you're going to have to jump onto that. They'll be frustrated. We'll tell our guys, like, hey guys, this will probably happen. No, don't let it hurt them. Don't let it hurt you. Don't let it affect you. Say, no, we're jumping from iceberg to iceberg here. And we know that the icebergs are out there and where they are. We told the clients, they don't know. But like what you said, if you weren't starving or on the verge, like, that's how you be nimble with it, and keep the client too,
exactly.
rather than just stonewalling them. Saying,
but if you are starving, then I think you have to be nimble. That's what you're saying, right? Exactly. And you need to be. And
people need to know that Lance and I, even when we're full, we know in 2 months, there might not be, like, we're always on the verge of starvation in our minds.
There's some statement that you literally live my entrepreneurial life by, and I know Alex says too, is like, every entrepreneur wakes up broke, or every entrepreneur wakes up unemployed. Like, that's how you think every day when you're an entrepreneur and you're a business owner. That's the mentality you got to have, no matter how much work you have. Like, no, I'm broke. I don't have, and just, you set your mind there, and then go to the other place. What I was gonna say is, what I'm going to do in preparation for if this happens again is, I have these excellent emails back and forth, and I will block people's names out about where they came from, but between the city and the engineer, and like, show the cascade of, we've tried it before. Here's the examples, and I'll try to make it as clean and condensed as possible. But like, this is the route that occurs every time, and you just got to hire this discipline right away. I'm sorry, I know it costs more money, but in the end, I've been down this road. Here's the proof.
Yeah.
And everybody hates to be wrong, so I don't. It is what it is. You got to just go down that road sometimes.
Well, and then also maybe it's because we were talking about. We thought we didn't have too much to talk about how to respond to the city, right? And you actually came up with a concept, a philosophy, and the philosophy
this is interesting. Yeah,
play the stooge. Is that a good phrase?
Pretty much.
And basically saying, and I want to know if I was wrong when I went back to the city, because basically I laid out a page and a half about why we don't need a variance, and it's pretty much bulletproof, right? But guess what? In their heads, that's me saying, "Hey, I'm an architect. I know everything, Mr. Architect, coming in here,
big A architect."
And nothing is 100%. Nothing is 100% probability. So they could find something like, "Oh yeah, he thinks he's so smart, but he forgot this one thing. So this one thing, no." You know what I mean? That can happen in everything. That's why businesses and bureaucracies working with the government take forever, because they try to eliminate it down to whatever. When, hey, sometimes rockets blow up. Not, you don't want it with people on it, but like,
Elon Musk.
There's nothing you can do.
Yep.
Literally the first 3 blew up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm getting at there is, your philosophy was, you tell them.
So first I got to play out the first way. The first attempt, I think, is this way. I think this is the wrong. For me, this is my experiment of doing it a different way. So let's say a building official, or not a building official, a plan reviewer says, oh, code X, Y, and Z are on the plans. You need to do this and this and this. And then you as the architect get all huffy puffy and you say, oh no, I'm going to the code. I'm smarter. All it's going to set it up for is I'm
Challenge.
smarter. But instead, we took the approach of just answering their question in a written response back, very cordial, very just like, okay, here's how we fixed it. Okay, here's how we fixed it. Okay, here's how we fixed it. Because then all of a sudden it wasn't just us going, no, here's where the code and the exception is. So then all of a sudden the plans reviewer, the comments got less. They got less, and they got less, and we got a permit.
Yeah. I think that there's so much nuance to these situations too, because a lot of times you get a lot more. I was dealing with a company. I was trying to get something shipped to me, and there's the stick and then there's the honey, right? So with Longmont before, with our project, I was honey. Just like, hey, thanks, guys. Every time they'd email me back within a day or two, I'd be like, that's awesome. That's amazing, guys. You're doing great, right? And then all of a sudden this big thing blew up because it was me trying to do that nice way. Yeah, sure, we'll do that. We'll do that dumb comment. And I think the stick needed to come out.
And it did.
And it did. And
it was recorded.
And it was recorded, and they were not happy. And I don't know what else to say besides maybe be comfortable that. And we'll see if that comes out. Because when I was dealing with this other company trying to get something shipped to me, and they messed it up, so I first come out with the stick, like, guys, where is this? What is going on? They wouldn't reply. And just this email threads of me, like I called you, whatever. Then I finally just retyped a new email and just said, hey, my package went missing. Blah, blah, blah. Could you let me know where it's at? And instead of trying to like list out everything and be the smartest, they're like, oh, yeah, we're sorry. Here you go. Send a new one. And then they said, yeah, I'll ship it in a month, And I go, hey, is there any way you could send me another version quicker? I'd greatly appreciate it. Oh, no problem.
What did Teddy Roosevelt, what was one of his famous quotes?
Walk softly, but carry a big stick.
Boom. That's exactly it. That's exactly what you got to do. Write softly, but carry a big stick. Right?
Ooh. How do you flash
write softly, but carry a big pen.
How do you flash the pen or the stick? Because they need to know that you have it.
Yeah. I don't know, but we don't need to answer that question either. But I think that's kind of the moral of the story. For me, anyway, I feel like that's the right approach.
Yeah. Hey, speaking, my brain is jumping all over the place, which is totally fine. But it's a piece of advice that I think is worthwhile. Someone was in and I was doing something. Oh, the accountant was in. And then I said, oh, okay. She asked me like what this stuff was. So I told her a podcast. And then she saw the camera and said, oh, I'm going to film something tomorrow. She's like, oh, how do you guys do so much stuff? And I go, oh, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. But because we brought up that I'm making these training videos and stuff like that, do you know how we do so much stuff? Because I'm not as busy I'm just as productive as Gresh or you or whatever. We're about the same. People are productive here. Our force multiplier, honestly, is training. That's our force multiplier. Like if someone, how are you so busy? Oh, I'm not. I just train my guys so they can do all the stuff that needs to happen. Thus, I have to do less of that so then I can do these other things. So whenever that training comes out, I'm sure on the next podcast we'll let you know, like, that's your secret force multiplier.
Absolutely. And my wife and I were talking about this last night over dinner. Is about when I was bragging about some of the guys in the firm about how good they're doing. There was an email that was sent out yesterday. It was so perfectly done. All I had to do was copy the content and then send it to the client and copy the designer that did it at the firm. It was so well done. I was like, wow, you are basically in a management position. This is fantastic. I responded back to him and complimented him and everything like that. And so I was telling my wife this, and then she goes, well, when do you think they're gonna? When would you just give them a client or like get them? I said, well, there's a sales training that needs to happen. And I said, here's how I think it happens. I think maybe they tag along to say for between 3 and 6 meetings, okay, and they just observe. And they take extra notes on top of my notes. Maybe they ask a question or two or something like that. Then in the next 3 to 6 meetings after those, And so then I do all the contract writing and whatever. Then in the next 3 to 6 meetings after that, then I give them a cheat sheet. So I used to do this when I first started doing sales, and you too. You'd have a little cheat sheet, or at least like a list of questions written in your sketchbook, because the client's not really watching what you're writing down.
Sometimes before I go in, when I'm walking from the truck to the thing, I'll go budget, cost, timeline, and just so I don't forget.
Yeah. So there is there's usually like six questions that always come out when I'm asking people questions, right? Yep. Like this kind of stuff Alex said. So I said, so then in those meetings, you give that employee those primers, and you say, hey, let's tag team this, okay? And I'll interject whenever I need to or whatever. And then those ones, then you sit there and work with them on a proposal with the employee.
Yep.
And until they win their first couple, okay? Then once they win their first couple, then observe how the process goes, okay? Yep. Let them do all the billing, everything. And then I think so this is all, I think, in a 1 year process. Yep. By the end of that year, you should have a salesman on your hands. That's my spitball idea.
Well, I think then you couple it with, which what we talked about is like, how do you pass on a firm and split up ownership, right? If they're taking on this responsibility, they should get a larger cut, right? And this will probably happen after we build our new headquarters and all that stuff. So let's pretend this is all just generic numbers, right? So let's pretend the firm splits. Not splits, but ownership does. A third, and then a third of the new pool, right? And however many guys that is, they get a third. And what I think is what I'm going to try to do, and we'll probably have to do it legally, is that I don't like the idea that some other firms are doing where, hey, you automatically get it, but you don't get paid. Like, if you own a third of the firm, you get a third of the profits
dividends
at the end. That's not how they do it. It's if you leave, basically they buy back their shares, and then you get money. So literally, if something happened, let's say the recession happened, if you were smart, hey, I'm going to quickly leave, get my 10, 15, 30 grand out, because they're going to be firing people anyways, and it's going to lead into a death spiral. So the incentives aligns with when you leave does not make sense. So if we have to make a Class B share or something like, I don't know, say, hey, you're getting this, and I don't even know if you need to pay in. I don't even think you need to pay in. You get a percentage of the profits because you are running projects from top to bottom.
Top to bottom. You are bringing in revenue. For me, that's the critical part.
As long as you are here.
Yep.
Because you don't get to just leave and then because then someone else needs that incentive. And that's how I think it should work out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Because it's perverse if all the money is going outside the company, forcing you to work harder for lower wages so that they can get a higher return.
Yeah. No, literally perverse.
Not at F9. So let's go on to the next segment. Let's bring in the guys and let's do A.R.E. Jeopardy. All right, here we go with the first question. Number 1, according to IRC 802.7.1, memorize that. What is the max depth that you can notch out a bird's mouth cut for a roof rafter? So if a roof rafter is coming down, it's sitting on a wall. That wall is perpendicular to the ground. The rafter is not, because it's at some sort of angle. So you have to notch out. So what is if the depth is 1, right? What's the max you can notch out? Here are your answers. A, D, 1/5. So 1/5 of that depth. B, so I won't say D because D is like equals depth. I'll just do A, B, C, D. So A, 1/5, B, 1/3, D, C, 1/2, D, 1/4.
That's a lot of silence on the radio, Al.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Everyone's thinking, contemplating.
Sorry.
In their head.
I was texting.
All right. What do we got? D, B, B. The answer is D. The answer is 1/4 is all you can notch out.
That's it.
And so, Gresh, you would like this. 802.7.1, why I say that is because it says, hey, to figure out, they have a graph and they have it shown there. And they say, to figure out what that should equal, go to 304.1. It's like, oh, why didn't you just... And all that code said was the answer to that.
Wow.
Wow.
All right.
Wow. Okay, I got to put... Question 2. A fire during construction destroys the wood framing. Whose insurance covers the damages? A, the architects. B, the owner. C, the contractors. D, the person who dropped the cigarette.
What if it wasn't a cigarette? If it's in Colorado,
Architect, owner, contractor, person who dropped the cigarette.
Where did you get this question from?
I can't tell you.
Can't tell me. Good. Don't tell me.
Okay, C, B, C. B is the answer. All right, we got a tie.
You're sure it wouldn't be the contractor?
No, so I read this. I'm not going to say where, but it says whose insurance covers the damages. And they said the owners, because the owner gets the wrap policy for like everything. And they said it wouldn't be the contractor. And this is what they said, because the contractor only covers damages and something else. I'm like, you said damage in the question.
Oh, okay.
And then I wanted to lament about how I'm so happy I don't have to take these, but I didn't want to dishearten and our lovely employees here.
Okay. All right, great. So what do we got? A tie so far?
Tie.
Okay. Number 3. What is a What are you doing? What are you doing now?
Nothing.
Okay,
Read it.
He's messing around. Okay, number 3. What is a horizontal tie beam connecting 2 opposing rafters at a level above the wall plates known as A, tie beam, B, rafter tie, C, collar beam, D, flat collar? Do you need that repeated? What is a horizontal tie beam connecting 2 opposing rafters at a level above the wall plates known as A, tie beam, B, rafter tie, C, collar beam, D, flat collar? I wrote this one myself, and I'm very proud of the trickery.
Yeah.
Very proud. Do, 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 do. Do, do, do. What do you got?
All
right. You got it?
C, D, C. C is correct.
C is correct. Collar beam. The tricky part was that I said tie beam.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part. But yes, it's a collar beam. So just think about like any kind of little bungalow that we do in Denver where it's just the rafters and a collar beam.
Correct me as if I'm wrong. So when you were reading that, I was like, I've never heard of a tie beam. Is there a tie beam?
No.
So
I made it up.
Exactly. So that's where they'll trick you. They'll literally say something that's like maybe in the question, but you're like, that's not a real thing. I've never heard of that.
And they tie it to the question.
Yeah.
So been there, done that, right? Yep. Okay, number 4. We got a Greshiosaurus is in the lead.
Yep. So if Gresh gets it wrong and the other 2 gets it right, we'll have a 3-way tie.
Nice. Okay, number 4. Okay. What does NW stand for?
For brick.
For brick.
Remember? This ties back to last.
Yeah. This was going to be the bonus question.
So you have to write. It's not A, B, C, or D.
Yep.
What does it stand for?
What does NW stand for
and
in regards to brick?
If no one gets it exactly, we'll pick who gets it closest.
Okay.
Because they could write this.
That's a subjective decision.
Yeah, but I am...
What did you just write? Try it again. Oh, I see. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, they could do that. That's possible. Anything's possible.
This is a fresh marker.
Anything's possible except the impossible.
Exactly. Okay, we have non-weather, retardant, non-weathering, and non-weathered.
So what do we say? Read it again. So we have non-weather, retardant.
So that's 3 words. Non-weathering. And weathered.
Ooh.
Weathered. Which one has least letters? Mark. Wow. Because it's no weather. So we have a tie.
The answer is no weather.
So you were very close. How do we... Rock, paper, scissors.
No, I got another one.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
This is 2-way.
And I'm going to give you a hint, okay? This is for the tiebreaker.
You come back in just for funsies.
Yep. What does... wait a second. Let me see.
Scroll down.
Yeah, where's the other question?
Scroll all
I
the way
want to
down.
make sure. I want to make
Use
sure
your
we didn't
scroll
do
wheel.
the last ones.
There we go. We're scrolling. This is
all the way down? All the way
great
down?
airtime, Lance.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't. Oh, we good. We didn't say it. Okay, great. Okay, what does SW stand for in brick? What does SW stand for in brick? Do you know what this one is, Al?
I'll do.
That'll be the tiebreaker. You're close. I know what it is now. I know what it is. It's this.
Yes, you are correct. Okay. I remember now.
Okay, we have some answer.
Structural weather. God, you guys. What?
They're just okay. It's severe weather. All right, we're gonna give you one more. Okay, the tiebreaker.
The tie of all time.
See, I was in the lead. So
I know, but it's still the same thing. But you can play along.
You can play along.
Yep.
What does MW stand for in grade of brick?
Wide flange brick?
No, MW.
Oh, I was thinking W. Wow. Dyslexia works upside down these days, too.
Whoa. I don't know. For those of you who don't know, Al has slight dyslexia.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. That was pretty crazy.
They move and flip.
Whoa. Wide flange brick.
Yeah.
MW. Come on. God dang it. Medium. Okay, medium weather. Moderate weather. What do you have? Jason technically got it right.
Yeah, Jason's back in even though he's out.
Okay, so now we need a tiebreaker.
Well, I don't know if he can. Rock, paper, scissors.
All right, yeah, let's just do rock, paper, scissors. No, not a 3-way.
No,
it's a
Jason was just for fun.
2-way. But at least Jason kicked
like
butt
he
on that
in
one.
spirit.
God, it was a layup, right? At the end.
Moderate, severe.
Yeah.
Moderate,
severe. No, moderate.
No.
Medium. I get medium though.
Yeah.
That's what he said at first. Al.
Yeah.
Okay.
also, is flat color technically wrong?
Gresh wins. Mark is devastated.
Eventually,
Holy
hopefully
cow,
this will be
emotions fly high.
I know. So at some point, I really want this to be video recorded because the physicality
He
here
messed up his
is
hair.
is incredible.
Looks
all right.
Oh.
That's all we got for A.R.E. Jeopardy. We'll be back.
All right, to tie back in, we know that you're just itching to get that Revit training, but if you haven't got Revit to begin with, that would be your first step. You can get Revit Lite for $65 a month. It might even, that's with AutoCAD. You can get just Revit Lite, I think, for $55 a month. You can buy the full Revit for $275 a month. But if you're just starting out, you might start out with the Revit Lite. The second thing, if you are into building better architecture, the way you do it is you build better business. Go to entrearchitect.com/free course and start there.
If you love the podcast, we would love it if you share it with some of your friends, colleagues, and family members, anybody who could benefit. Please just share your favorite episode with them. It's been great. And then also, thanks so much for everybody who's reviewed us on iTunes. If you haven't yet, please leave us a 5-star review. It helps with our rankings, helps us spread the message. And if you do that and you haven't, or you haven't, please email Alex at akg@F9 Productions. Follow us on the Twitter at Inside the Firm
Because I'm going to
Podcast.
give you our free book. That's
Yep.
why you'd email
The
me.
creativity
You can
code.
email me for fun if you want to.
You could
but
ask
if,
him all kinds of questions.
if they're stupid, I
Play
will not.
dyslexia tricks on him.
Ooh,
All
I
kinds
might
of-
reply to those.
He might reply to those. Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. See you next week.